Difficult family dynamics are very challenging, but they're so rewarding. You see such reward after you've had family sessions and they're yelling and you're trying to regulate everyone and you've set the ground rules for family session. You have some really tough sessions, but then eventually as the therapist, and by therapist I mean me, as I become more confident in the family sessions and we kind of get a rhythm going, and then you start seeing the pieces being put together. You're able to point out, okay, there's power dynamics here. Okay, this person feels really unheard in this situation. I'm not seeing lots of structure at home. How can we you're starting to problem solve with the family and not for the family. And then they start to do it themselves as a family unit. That is probably the most rewarding thing. And there have been some family sessions where I've been quiet a lot and they've just been able to communicate so much better. That is the most rewarding to me.
You're listening to Mentor Moments, where we talk about all things counseling, technology, education, and career development. I am Brayden Wooters, and I'm joined by my co-host, Dr. Michael Keener. Grab a seat, and let's get started. Okay, welcome to another episode of Mentor Moments. I am Brayden Wooters.
And I'm Michael Keener. Let's do this.
We have Alexis with us.
We're so excited.
I don't even know. So, Alexis, how long have you and I known each other? 3 years?
Yeah, it'll be 3 years in September. It is September. Never mind. It's 3 years. That's wild. I thought
Super wild.
I'm still in August. Yeah.
Yeah, so we worked together at Youth in Need, and when you work together at like nonprofit mental health, it's a bit like boot camp, so you get real close really quickly, because you're just like taking on so much stuff. And Alexis has a very interesting, life. Like you have a very interesting life. It's very cool, like listening to the bits and pieces of like you becoming a therapist, because it very much reflected my story too. So I was like, we need to have you here. I'll stop yapping here for a little bit. Tell us what we need to know about you. Like, what is your role right now? Where are you working? What do you do?
Yeah. So I currently am my background is licensed master social worker. So I went to social work school, but my current role is I'm a child, teen, and family therapist at the same place. And I have been there now for three years. It's my 2-year anniversary, I think, somewhere between there. But it was my first job after post-grad. So that's currently where I'm at. And I did not think that I was going to be a therapist after grad school. I was pretty dead set on another career, and we can get into that in a little bit. But I love it. I love what I do. Yeah, that's where I'm at currently. So same place, still in boot camp.
When you get out of boot camp, is that soon?
You get out of boot camp when you are licensed fully and when you have something really good lined up. And I'm learning a lot. And and that's the main thing, is like feeling confident to leave boot camp into like what I call like the real world of therapy. So that's my plan.
I love that. I'm glad. Again, I hope our listeners can really embrace that. I know that's something we talk about in school all the time, the transition from student to professional. And just because you graduate doesn't mean you're there. And so this really, again, knowing if you have this greater level of confidence, self-efficacy, feeling, like you're ready to take on the world.
Exactly. That's exactly, you put it just how I'm feeling. Like, I know that I'm not a student anymore, but there's something about your first post-grad job where you're like, I feel like I'm still learning so much and everything. And I just want that extra boost of confidence and ability to trust myself to then move on to the next one. So, because you're so comfortable in that first job after some time too. So it takes some courage as well. Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
Love it. Courage. Yes. We need to have more courage, right? Yeah. Confidence and growth mindset, all those good things.
So a child, like adolescent teen therapist, like that's such a big range. Where are you finding your niche at right now? Who are you finding like a lot of your clientele to be?
Yeah, I would say most of my clientele right now are younger kids. I would say 6th grade and younger. I think the youngest I can see is 4 years old right now. So I would say littles are my niche at the moment. I'm really into CCPT, really into family work as well. Lots of parent consultations, especially as the school year has started up again. I work a lot with kids with anxiety is a big niche of mine, and working with blended families, including like parents that just recently got divorced. I'm finding myself working a lot with that too. So I would say that's my niche. But again, I'm still open. I recently have taken a lot more older clients too. So good bit of a challenge, but I'm finding I'm the most comfortable working with younger kids.
Dr. Keen, I'm ready to jump into those. I was just about to say, I can start the first question kind of, we can get rolling. Like, I mean, what drew you to this job? What drew you to this kind of work? You had mentioned that you were thinking about a different career and then you ended up here. Like, tell us a little bit about that journey.
I'm going all the way back to
Go for it.
many moons ago. No, it was not long ago, but it feels like a long time ago. But I went to undergrad with this idea that I was going to be an occupational therapist. And what drew me to that is I volunteered at a camp for individuals with intellectual disabilities, and I fell in love with it. I think I fell in love with the idea of just helping, and I just wanted to help, and that was just a niche that I was a part of, and I really loved it. So then I went to Augustana and then North Central College, both in Illinois, for undergrad with a major in psychology, minor in biology, and then applied to but first, I'm getting ahead of myself. I studied abroad in Scotland, in Dundee, Scotland, and I fell in love with Scotland. I loved everything about it. I loved the people, the culture, the awful food that they have. I loved it all, the scenery. And so when I got back, it was my senior year of undergrad, and I was like, I got to go back. So I took the opportunity of grad school to then apply to OT schools abroad. The OT license is somewhat similar. It's transferable. So I got into a school in Edinburgh. So I ended up living in Edinburgh for a year and a half. I finished my first semester, and then after your first semester of classes, you have like what we would call like a practicum. And I'm pretty sure I called it there. And my practicum is kind of what opened the doors to mental health. So, and of course, there's mental health and occupational therapy as well, which is why I got into this practicum. But they set me to work with adult male veterans, which is not what I'm working with now, obviously, but I was working with adult male veterans in a mental health setting. My job was to support the occupational therapists in helping veterans find work. So some of them were many years off of their active duty. Some of them were pretty recently off of active duty. And so we kind of worked with psychiatrists. They had like peer mentors as well. So it was a big group of us kind of working together. We had a pretty niche role in like working off of their strengths and finding what they're good at and helping them find work in the community. And so that was very, very interesting. Working with this population is something I never thought that I would, and I loved it. But I couldn't figure out like what I loved about it. Because I was like, I feel like I'm not doing OT. And like, I knew that I was, but I was like, I feel like it's something else here that I'm loving. And so it took a lot of reflecting, lots of tears in another country, and I was working with one of my professors. We had like one-on-ones every couple of weeks. And I was talking to her and she was like, it sounds like you love working with mental health. And I was like, yes, but I don't want to give up. Like I thought that I was failing myself if I didn't complete OT. It's something that I told everyone that I was going to do. I'm going to be an OT. And then I move away to this like making a huge commitment, and then I felt like giving up would just be the worst thing in the world. But I knew that the worst thing in the world was staying in a job that I knew wasn't right for me. So made a big decision to dropping out of OT school, flying back to America with my suitcase and feeling absolutely defeated, but with purpose. So then afterwards, I was looking into different jobs because there's so many routes to take with mental health. There's professional counseling, there's licensed marriage and family therapy, it's psychiatry, psychology, and then social work. And I looked into social work. I can't tell you what exactly drew me to social work. I think I just saw like all the many job titles that you can have as a social worker, and I loved code of ethics was really important to me too. I loved the advocacy work, and so I went into social work, and got into an online school just because my boyfriend at the time, now fiance, we move a lot, and so I was like, I need something flexible. Thought that I was going to be a school social worker for a long time during my my master's of social work, and so I was working as like a school paraprofessional for a while. Loved the school setting too. And then during my clinical practicum, absolutely loved the mental health counseling setting. Never thought in a million years that that's what I would want to do, but I loved it. I didn't think that I had the skill for it, but I learned very quickly it's not school is very important what you learn in your school, but the practice is it's so much. So much of it is your practice, and I gained so much up, and I'm still learning a lot too. So, yeah, that's a very long story. That's kind of what led me to uh where I am now.
But that's what we love the long stories or the personal stories of how we started here and ended up here. And I think it's my theme that I always talk about in the podcast is this what I well, it's a career theory called plan and happenstance, right? That you complain on, right? You're planning to be an OT and then the happenstance happens, right? Like I found myself here and even sort of how you found social work versus some of the other ones too. And so I don't know. Yeah, I also do lots of peer counseling too, because again, like we put in so much of our self identity by who we are. So again, as you were saying, you were building yourself up and building your identity at being OT, and then how do I sort of transition with that? How do I handle that when you're
Exactly, and I still have, over the years, because I was in, OT club, I still have, OT, shirts and stuff that I still wear, and now it's a nice part of, your story too, and, it seems really crappy in the moment when you're like, "Oh my god," like you said, this is something I put my whole self into, especially when you're in, your late teens, early 20s, you're dead set on what you wanna do, and now that I'm older and I can look back and I'm like, that is such a nice part of my story too. So yeah, it's never from what I've been hearing from other stories, it's never set in stone from college to career and then beyond. And it makes for a great story.
Yeah. And you're hitting on big themes that I mean, just about every single episode, it's that same theme of it's not never linear. It always starts from a place that, you probably least expect. And then there's some element of risk taking. And, I've never heard you say a single negative thing about your time in Scotland. And even on this episode, it's clear, how much you love it. And so to take that risk of not just changing your major, but also going away from some place that you called a home for a really long time, risky.
Again, I would say that's also a trait that employers or coworkers would embrace as well. So again, just hearing the story, I was like, oh, I wish I had the opportunity to spend a year and a half in Scotland,
Yes.
so
And just knowing Alexis, there's very little she'll say no to. I think just knowing how you operate, you're a very opportunity oriented kind of individual. And so, were there people in your life that really helped you in that process? I mean, it's a scary moment to change majors and move and all those other things. Who were those people in your life that really kind of were foundational for you?
Yeah, I would definitely say my family was number one. They were the ones that supported me going abroad. Obviously, there were some hard discussions needing to be had, are you sure? The OT program is similar to the one over here where it's 3.5 years. That's a long time to be away from everyone, but at the end of the day, they knew it was something that I wanted. And I think the biggest aha moment on my support system is when I was like, "Hey guys, remember those hard decisions we had? Never mind. I'm actually coming back home." And didn't make me feel bad about it. They took me in with open arms. I had a family friend offer me a position at the school to be a paraprofessional, and knowing that I loved working with kids but was kind of unclear on where exactly I was going. Family was my biggest support here in the States, and then and abroad I would say just my cohort. They were so incredibly supportive. A lot of my cohort was actually international. A ton of Irish people and there was a couple Australian people and trying to think. There was someone from Brazil and then a few Canadians. I was the only American. But they were all very understanding and very supportive too. And just I never felt shamed by anyone else besides myself, obviously. So I think that is just so important when you are having a huge transition or a shift in whether it's your career or any other part of your life, just to have those people that take you in with open arms and will ask you the hard questions because you need that sometimes, but will also support a vision that you have that's going to benefit their future. So that is something. So family back here in the States and my cohort and my professors over in Edinburgh were incredible and incredibly valuable.
Makes me think about Carl Rogers, right? Unconditional positive regard, genuine empathy, like that. You had that in a team effort there, right? To
100%.
work and grow and
Yeah. I don't want to make this about me. Okay, I will make it about me.
Great.
Well, I mean, you mentioned like feelings of shame, and feelings of like almost like borderline embarrassment. I don't know if, I mean, you didn't quite say that word, but that was how I felt. And for me, I didn't quite that feeling didn't go away, at least for me, until I started at Maryville's program and I was with Dr. Keener and I was around faculty that really made me feel like, okay, like I'm where I belong. And so was there a moment for you that like maybe embarrassment or shame of like, oh, was this the right decision? Was there a moment for you where you're like, okay, no, this was the right call. I'm right where I need to be.
I'm gonna be so honest with you. It probably wasn't until I was at Youth in Need where I felt like I was making the right choice because um I in my social work program, I didn't get to see my cohort every day, and it's because we were online. So I'm very much, and Breen probably knows this too, I'm very much an external validation. Like that is very important. Feedback is really important to me. So I wasn't getting it as much. Like my assignments were good, but I was like, I need to know that my practice is good. And so my first practicum in Omaha was great. They were really good, but I still felt very much like a fish out of water. I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing right now. And then Youth in Need, I had support from my clinical social work supervisor. I also had my regular office-based supervisors that were very supportive, and I finally got like, you are making a difference. Because I felt like in my practicum, you're not really there long enough well, maybe you are for some people. But for me, I was like, I'm not seeing the like longevity effect of therapy yet. I knew it was there, but I'm like, I'm not seeing it yet. And I really saw it with a lot of my clients and families at Youth in Need. And that was just really a big part of like that external validation that this is the right field for me. And I feel like I'm home in my career, if that makes sense. Like this is the right path for me. And there might be more beyond it too. Like there's so many, Braden's a great example of this. Like there's more beyond this too. But in terms of like the setting, like this is a really good fit for me. So it was later in the game for me for sure. Like not until I graduated from my master's program. Yeah.
I love that honesty. I appreciate that.
well, I'm wondering, talk to us a little about what you find really rewarding now.
Yeah.
You know, you sort of again, you fit, and what are those things?
Yeah, I love a good challenge and I love to see, especially I would say with families, difficult family dynamics are very challenging, but they're so rewarding. You see such reward after you've had family sessions and they're yelling and you're trying to regulate everyone and you've set the ground rules for family session. You have some really tough sessions, but then eventually as the therapist, and by therapist I mean me, as I become more confident in the family sessions and we kind of get a rhythm going, and then you start seeing the pieces being put together. You're able to point out, okay, there's power dynamics here. Okay, this person feels really unheard in this situation. I'm not seeing lots of structure at home. How can we you're starting to problem solve with the family and not for the family. And that is one of my biggest things that I've seen that have been the most rewarding and then they start to do it themselves as a family unit. That is probably the most rewarding thing. And there have been some family sessions where I've been quiet a lot and they've just been able to communicate so much better. That is the most rewarding to me. I love individual sessions, but family sessions scared me so bad when I first started. They scared me so bad. I was so nervous. And now they're the most fun that I have because it's so challenging but the rewarding outcome is just so huge at the end. So I would say that's like my biggest reward that I get from my current setting.
And I love that. The risk to reward, right, the risk to reward ratio of a family session, because you hit the nail on the head. I used to feel the exact same. We've talked about this, is like there's so more people in the room, so many more ways that this could go wrong. But whatever, gosh, I mean, I can't really say anything else than like, yeah, no, you hit the nail on the head. The amount of impact is just greater, exponentially greater.
I was just saying, I like how you again, thinking like a clinician, you are now seeing the family change from you initiating the brainstorming to now collaborating with them for them then taking it over. That you are again seeing that, and then again a good way to track your progress to their progress.
Yeah,
I noticed.
absolutely. And like the biggest hurdle was like the need for control. Like the need for control because my version of a healthy, happy family is so different than any other family unit out there, too. And so to reeling myself in from being like, Alexis, this is not how this family wants to run, and that's okay. Like meeting them where they're at was like a huge like thing for like me as a baby therapist beforehand to learn is like the need to control how a family's supposed to run is not going to look the same ever, actually. I've never met a family that all run the same. And that was a huge thing that I had to get over as a new therapist is like you said, okay, I can set guidelines to session, but then it's up to me to observe how they run and then helping them with the more minuscule schools like communication, respect in the therapy space, if that makes sense. So yeah, that was a huge hurdle at first. Definitely.
I mean, you're kind of answering a question that I was going to ask you already, which is like the definition of success. And maybe not the definition of success as a therapist, but like what does a successful therapy look like and how that success kind of changed for you. So I'm changing my question. There are so many aspects about this job, and especially because I've worked the same job as you, that I was like, I wasn't expecting this to be part of my job, or I wasn't expecting this to be there. Were there areas about this role for you that you were like, okay, I did not know that this was going to be a part of it. It could be a good surprise, bad surprise.
Yeah. Oh my God. There's so many. I had an answer to this question, but I think I'm going to change it based on what we were just talking about. I would say is that there's no something that surprised me and something that I had to learn from another supervisor that I had is that there's no such thing as a bad therapy session. I went into this field thinking, okay, bad therapy session is kid or teen or an adult sitting there not saying anything. And I'm like getting answers out of them or asking them questions. But you can take something away from any session, whether that's a really quiet client or a very angry client that is screaming and yelling in your room and yelling profanities. That is data. That's giving me context into what's going on in their world and their headspace. When screaming and fighting in family therapy session, no. There are things that I can always learn from a session afterwards, but I got something out of that session in seeing how the family is running. For a long time, when I first started at Youth in Need, like my first year, I would go into supervision and I would say, that was such a bad session. And I had to be challenged a lot in saying, that wasn't a bad session. We have something we can grow from this session, but you got something out of that as their therapist. And what can we learn from that too? And having that mindset moving forward into my sessions has been a game changer. It helps me think on my toes a little bit better too. Like the session is not going bad. The session's just going differently than what I anticipated it to be. And that's okay. So that's something I never thought that I would come to realize in this job too, is that even if my client thought it was a bad session, I can also remind them and say, I don't think this is a bad session. No, it might have not gone the way that both of us had hoped, and that's okay. And now let's move forward from that. So that's something that definitely surprised me.
Hearing this conversation made me think back to a supervisor I had. He always pushed us, again, similar to what Alexis was saying, on no bad session. Like he'd rather have us make a mistake in trying something than not trying something, right?
Exactly.
So again, I don't think anybody's poking somebody with a hot poker, right? So we're probably, we got to have some faith that we're not going to do anything unethical, but like just try and see what happens. And again, like you said, learn from it. So
Yeah. Well, and it models too. Like that's such a large part of our job, and something that I was surprised by was like, oh my gosh, my behaviors, the way I'm talking, like working with kids, so much and adults, so much of our job is modeling. And so we had a really bad session, but I'm still going to show up for you in the next session. And so we're modeling that like resilience if a session didn't go the way that we wanted to. So
Exactly. And that's another huge thing. Like, and this is more of like a personal thing for each clinician too, but like you never know what's going to upset you up here in session. I have been triggered, I guess, by things in session that I never thought that I would. And so taking time to, I've always heard like professors and supervisors tell me, like, make sure to like take care of yourself after session. I was like, I'm fine. Like, I'm a new therapist. I'm not going to burn out. Like, it's okay. And I know burnout's like a whole other topic for therapy for another day. But I was like, my God, I actually do need to stop after my sessions and really think, why did that make me so upset? Yes, I can regulate myself in session and be there for my client, but whoa, like I was not expecting that. And that's something that they can't really teach you in school. And it's something that you just have to experience within your own caseload. And that is another thing that I was like, I was not expecting that in this journey. I thought that I was Iron Man, I guess. Yeah.
No, we think we have this like crazy resilience, like the like stamina is I think where I was thinking for like this. Yeah, I was like, I do not have the stamina I thought I did. Yeah, and that's okay. Let's dive into next thing, and I'll edit this out if I'm wrong. You have an intern?
I do.
Okay, you see, you started, but okay, so before we hit record, you were like, I don't know if I've got. I know you're like, I don't know if I'm mentoring anybody. And I was like, don't. I'm pretty sure you have an intern now.
I do. She's very new, but yes, I do.
I want to know about that. Like, what has that process been like? Like, tell me about like that decision making of deciding that you wanted an intern.
Oh gosh. Yeah. So taking an intern was definitely something that I didn't tell to someone. I've always been open, like Brayton said. I'm very much like I'll say yes to just about anything, especially if I know that it's a new experience and it's gonna really help me grow as a clinician, as a mentor, as just growing into my role. So when it was approached to me, I said yes, kind of without thinking about it. And then I had a few people talk to me about the process and about the commitment, obviously. And so I kind of was not in denial about it, but I was like, yeah, it's gonna be great, it's gonna be fine. But now that I'm into that role and having an intern, it's a big responsibility, and I can't imagine like being a professor for future clinicians. Like that's a lot of responsibility, and so just having one makes me feel a little bit better. I'm like, okay, I just have one person to help and help them grow and allow them to see what kind of therapist that they would like to be in the future. But it's been really good. It's a great opportunity. And I like taking the mindset that because my intern specifically, she has no prior experience, which I look at that as a strength as well. Cause I'm like, oh my gosh, like the doors are opened for them. And the place that we're at now has such an opportunity for different kinds of caseloads and clients and families and systems that are in place. And she's also a social worker as well. And so we can kind of balance it out between advocacy and mental health and what that looks like. It's been good. Definitely, I should have thought through it more at the beginning, and I didn't. But here we are.
What do you mean by that? You should have thought it through.
Just like, think I say yes to things so like quickly, and I'm like, oh my God, what did I just say yes to? And this is not one that I'm regretting at all. It's not one I'm regretting at all because I know it's going to help me be a better leader. How rewarding is it to know that like you get to be part of a future therapist experience? Like that's very rewarding. So that's something, again, risk versus reward is a big theme here today.
I'm wondering, what would you tell if you're working with, maybe you're interviewing a potential intern and they say, I want to work with children, right? Or children, adolescent. And maybe I'm wondering if they know how much that really is family work as well, as you alluded to. So I guess, I know, is there anything else that, if we look at maybe the iceberg, and so we see in the session working with children here, but what's all underneath that also goes with, like, you do need adult skills too, I guess, right? Kind of going with.
Yes. Oh gosh. There's so much under the iceberg. I would say flexible thinking. You have to be so flexible in working with children. You could have a whole session planned out and you can have speaking of iceberg, you can have the anger iceberg for little Johnny, and little Johnny's going to wipe it off the table and say, I want to do sand tray today. And you have to say, okay, this is what he needs today. All right, we're going to go do the sand tray. Yeah. Flexible thinking, self-regulation skills, as we discussed earlier, because a lot of times our kids, it's not their responsibility for our emotions too. And we have to be there for the 55 60-minute session with them. We have to be our best self for them. So being able to regulate yourself as well. Some sort of creativity. I will be the first person to say I'm not a creative person, but some sort of creativity when working with kids is really important as well. And like you said, lots of parent work, because you can do all of the amazing therapy work. And will it make a difference? Yes, of course it will. Connection is so important for kids. But if things at home don't feel safe for the child, that's when a lot of breakdowns can happen. And so working with families just to bridge everything together is just so important as well. So yeah, there are so many things under the iceberg that I could also think of. Don't wear white pants. And expect to go home with lots of glitter on you all the time. I constantly find like red glitter like in my hair, on my arm, and I'm like, I'm not even questioning it anymore. So yeah.
I promise I feel like we're so many questions for you because you just have so much knowledge. But one thing that I want to make sure that I touch on, kind of piggybacking off Dr. Keener's question, Mike's question, was school. Right. So like school is such another realm of it. And you and I have had conversations about what your role ends up looking like in a school, like what like IEP meetings and coordinating the teachers. Like what has that looked like for you? Yeah, that's the question.
100%. No, I would say like the being a paraprofessional has helped me immensely understand the school system more. Now, I've been working in a school now for 4 different states. I've worked in Illinois schools, Wisconsin schools, Nebraska schools, and now Missouri schools. And I would say they all run, and now, mind you, these are all Midwestern schools. So they all run pretty similarly, I would say, for public school system. It's very important to collaborate with the team here, as well as being an advocate for your student. I would say teachers are extremely underpaid and underappreciated. I think that goes without saying at schools. And I think one of the best gifts you could help give your teachers is your collaboration with them, cooperation, with a sense of care when you do advocate for your students, using it as a partnership. Like, we are a team, me, teacher, and student. It is not us versus the student. It's not me and student versus the teacher. And I take the same approach with parents as well. Now, if wrongdoing is towards my client and it's my duty to advocate, I'm going to do that. No, but 9 times out of 10, it's a miscommunication somewhere. It's a needs not being seen somewhere. And it can hopefully be my job to kind of see it as a third party and say, hey, this is just what I'm seeing. I'm wondering if this can help in your classroom, or I'm wondering if this could help at home. That's one of the biggest things that I think I had to learn as a clinician role, but that would be one of the biggest things. And then, of course, like there's so many more meetings with schools, the IEP meetings, 504 meetings, any sort of like school system that they need all the staff to be at. Like, I think that's really important to be a part of. Now, we're in a very interesting spot because we're not hired by the school district. We're hired by this other company. But I always tell new clinicians, I'm like, get integrated with your school. There's nothing worse than going into a building that you're not welcome at. Not that our schools have ever made us unwelcomed, but like I would much rather be welcomed and having like a second home at work than feeling like a stranger in that building too. Like, it just makes life so much easier when teachers and staff know who you are, what your role is. I can't tell you how many times my first year here at my school, and I reached out to teachers and they were like, who are you and what do you do? And why are you pulling my student out of class? And I was like, hello, like, don't worry. And like having people look at you when you swiping them with the badge and they're like, whoa, like who? And I'm like, oh my God, like I thought I introduced. So really just making yourself known and knowing that you're on their team. You are not this third party, because schools deal with so much outside sources that bring more stress than it is helpful. Lots of lawyers come into the school at these IEP meetings and it's very stressful and it just causes lots of tension. And that is like the last thing I think an in-school clinician wants to bring. So that was a very long answer, but yeah.
I knew it would be a long, because I know that you had a lot of experience with that. I mean, if there's only one thing that I can add to that, was just like it comes with confidence, right? I mean, granted, neither of us are teachers, But like trauma-informed care is not, the highest priority for some, educators, whereas for us it is. And so you're going in with a totally different lens of like, hey, this might trigger a student, or hey, like this kid, like let's talk about maybe a potential accommodation. Like if this client has ADHD, how would this work? So coming with different skills, that's all I'm gonna add.
No, that's an important one too. It's like the basic stuff that like I was talking with another supervisor about this. It's like the basics sometimes that I forget even as it like trauma informed care or trauma informed schools. It's like we talk about it so much, but what does it mean and how are we really implementing it is huge. So that is something that I have been thinking about because all the back to school trainings are being done and all the staff does it too here at the school. And it's like, how can I hopefully be a beacon of trauma informed care in making it a little easier for teachers too to implement it in their classroom? Yeah, no, that's a huge part of it.
Well, it was, again, makes me think of the iceberg analogy again, as you were talking about, we think our job is this, but then, and you're like, as you said, you're stepping on both feet in both youth in need organization and the school system organization. And again, I guess I'm going all over the place. I think about how much mental health since the pandemic has been in the forefront, where so many years we wanted to protect confidentiality and counseling is sort of, oh, it's hidden in the library behind here. And you're saying of being, fully integrated in the system or in the school, right? And so again, as we talked about advocacy a few times, like we're advocating that somebody wants to protect their confidentiality and not tell people they're going to see counseling, that's fine. But also it might not be something that we need to hide anymore, right? That, as you're saying, being fully integrated helps with that process, that a student or a faculty member will feel safe referring somebody to you, and maybe those students see you as somebody that's safe and somebody they want to go see versus feeling like they're shame or something.
Absolutely. And it's like, and you like, there's ways to do that in like more of a like micro sense if we're talking about it too. Just like empowering our clients. Like I've had some kids that be like, I tell my friends that I see you. And I'm like, that's up to you, bud. Like you can totally do that. Like, and empowering them to like make those choices. Like, yeah, I go to counseling and what about it? And like normalizing it too. And like you said, like being able to do that in the school setting is so important because I do feel like there was a big shift after COVID in mental health and the importance of community. And it's much more open now. Whereas like pre-COVID, I was not a therapist pre-COVID, but I can imagine how strict is the wrong word, but that's the only thing I can think of more strict that was in the schools and like closed off it was to have those conversations. And it wasn't that long ago.
You got my brain spinning. This is something I would almost want to do like a whole episode on, is just like the notion of like hiding the therapist,
Yes.
like
In the cloffice.
yes, in the cloffice, like hide the therapist, hide the services, you're a ghost kind of deal. And anyway, because that still applies to college settings too. Like you think that that's different anywhere else, but like I'm here at a university and I'm in some room far away and I have to go out and say hi to people and make myself known. So anyway, I relate. Okay, I feel like we're at a good point for your mentor moment. Would you say that you have any piece of advice, any homework, any, last thought for like our listeners to chew on? The mic is yours.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say, gosh, a couple takeaways I think from this is it is never too late to say no if something doesn't feel right with and I'm speaking more specifically with career wise. It is never too late to say no. Don't feel like because you put all your eggs in one basket doesn't mean you can take some out and revert your energy back to something that you truly are passionate about. We're seeing a huge shift with this with individuals that are middle age and are like, this is sitting at a desk all day is not what I want to do, just for example. And it is never too late to switch. And it's so worth your happiness and what you feel is right for your life and your goals. And that goes, and this is the bigger topic of risk and reward. Take the risk with your safety net is what I'm going to say. Take the risk with your safety net. It is so important to have 1, 2 people that are on board with you, that are going to ask you the hard questions, that are going to challenge you a little bit without totally diminishing your dreams and your ideas. It's so important to take that risk and have people on your team as well, because the reward more than not is so worth it.
Yeah, I mean, that's just something that I've been thinking about too, is like you kind of described a kitchen cabinet, like who are the people in your kitchen cabinet that you can bounce those ideas off of and get some real honest feedback that's not going to hurt your feelings. So yeah, that's something I've been thinking about too. So I'm really glad that you brought that up.
Yes. I know. I guess that's my third one. Like, take feedback with grace.
Okay, Dr. Keenan, any last thoughts before we...
I'm just glad we got a chance to meet and chat. And
Thank you guys so much for having me. This was a lot easier than I thought. And it was very nice to finally meet you. Brian has talked a lot about you.